Okay, so picture this. You wake up one morning, you're heading off to work just like, any other day. But then, completely out of the blue, your life is just ended in what looks like a terrible, awful hit and run accident. Now, imagine almost a year goes by. And that devastating accident, it takes a turn that is so shocking, so chilling. It basically flips everything. Heartbreak turns into this really disturbing revelation, and it brings up these huge questions about accountability, about justice. That's the story we're really digging into today. It starts with this incident early morning, May 29, 2024, in Albuquerque, a case that went from closed accident to reopened murder investigation.
And right at the center of this whole unfolding tragedy is Scott Habermehl. He was 63 years old, an engineer at Sandia Labs, a dad, had 2 kids, a PhD physicist. He was killed simply biking to work. So what we want to do in this deep dive is really try to unravel what happened initially, that first accident report, then look at the chilling discovery that came later, the legal stuff happening now with the juvenile suspects, and importantly, the bigger questions this whole case forces us to look at about juvenile crime.
Okay, let's break this down then. May 29, 2024. Scott Habermehl is on his regular commute, riding his bike down Moon Street NE in Albuquerque. It's early, about 4:40 a.m., when a woman, also on her way to work, calls 911. She reports seeing a cyclist hit. She described the bike as mangled, said it was pretty twisted up, said the person was there on the side of the road, kind of curled up. She admitted she just couldn't bring herself to get out and look closer.
Yeah, and when the police got there, they found Scott fatally injured, lying in the street. His injuries were really severe, a skull fracture, multiple facial fractures.
Yeah.
The cause of death was later confirmed as multiple blunt force injuries. And the thing is, even though it was dark, Scott's bike was properly equipped. He had 2 flashing red lights on the back, 2 lights on the front. He was visible, or should have been.
Right. And the scene itself told a story. Officers found shoes, a hat, pieces of his helmet scattered around, indicates a really violent hit. Then a few hours later, this is around 7:25 a.m., about half a mile away, they find a silver Hyundai sedan. It's just abandoned. Turns out it had been reported stolen, and the damage on it, consistent with hitting something like a bike.
But piecing it together initially was tough. You wonder why. Well, the investigation hit some walls pretty quickly. There were no direct witnesses who actually saw the crash happen. There was some surveillance footage from a church nearby, but it was grainy, and crucially, it only picked up the sound of the impact. You couldn't make out the car, no details. So without any more leads, the case was closed. September 24, 2024. Ruled an accident, pending new information.
So for months, that's what it was. Just a horrible, senseless accident for Scott's family, for his friends, his community, a tragedy without anyone held responsible. But that was all about to change, dramatically. Okay, this is where things take a real turn. Fast forward 9 months. We're in February 2025 now. An anonymous tip comes in, and it just blows this cold case wide open.
It really does. This tip pointed investigators towards an Instagram account. And what they found there was, well, truly shocking. A video of the fatal crash itself, but filmed from inside the stolen car. And the account belonged to an 11-year-old kid named Messiah Hayes.
The video itself, it's just deeply disturbing to even describe. You see 3 boys in the car. There's Messiah, he's 11, in the front passenger seat, and he's actually waving a handgun. Then there's 13-year-old Jonathan Overbay, Johnny, who they believe was driving, and 15-year-old William Garcia, Will, in the back. Apparently he was told to record it. And the audio, it captures them giggling right before they swerve to hit Scott. You hear someone ask, "You guys recording?" Other voices saying things like, "Hurry up before he starts turning. Oh, I'm going to hit him hella fast." And then just bump him, bruh. Another voice suggests going slower, like 15, 20 miles per hour. But the laughter continues right as the car hits Scott. You can even hear the sound of metal flexing. It's just, the callousness is astounding.
And, that video wasn't an isolated thing on his account. His online stuff, it really shows this pattern of escalating behavior, delinquency that seemed to go unnoticed, or at least unchecked. His Instagram had other videos too, pranks on fast food workers, thefts like when he's stealing a Ring camera right off someone's house. There are references to gang violence, videos of teens holding firearms, and text messages they recovered showed Messiah admitting he stole a gun from a party, talking about plans to rob gun stores.
Wow. And what's really unsettling, they weren't unknown to police before this. Messiah and Johnny, they were involved in a crime spree back in the summer of 2024. Car theft, burglary, even a shooting Messiah apparently took responsibility for. Police actually searched their phones back then, but at the time, they had no idea about any link to Scott Habermehl's death. In fact, a press release about that earlier spree mentioned they were, quote, lucky someone wasn't killed. So this tip, this video, it just completely reframes everything. What looked like a random, awful accident becomes this deliberate, intentional act caught on camera by the perpetrators themselves. It just changes the entire narrative, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And things move fast after that discovery. The arrests happened quickly. Over just 3 days, March 17th to the 19th, 2025, police located and brought in all 3 boys for questioning. They collected DNA, fingerprints from Messiah, Johnny, and Will, to compare with whatever evidence they got from the stolen Hyundai.
Let's talk about Messiah first. He was 11 when this happened, 12 by the time he was picked up. They found him at his Uncle Michael's house. Reports say the uncle was pretty upset about police coming in, even though they had a warrant for phones and guns. During the interview, Messiah apparently agreed to talk at first, but then wanted to call his uncle. Later, he just shut down, said he was bored, just wanted someone to sit with him. And there was another video found on his Instagram. It's just shockingly callous. It shows blood on the car hood afterwards, and he's heard saying, "Look where I hit her." Her whole face went boom, misgendering the victim too. Because there were no beds available in juvenile facilities right then, he actually spent the night in the interrogation room. They gave him McDonald's. He slept on a cot. Then the next morning, he was taken into custody by CYFD, the Children's Youth and Family Services Department. He's now charged with an open count of murder.
Right. An open count, meaning the specific degree is still to be determined. Then there's Jonathan. Johnny Overbay. He was 13 at the time. He was actually picked up at a juvenile probation center. He was already on probation for something else, breaking into a school. His mom showed up separately at the police station, and interestingly, she initially told Johnny that Messiah was driving, but the video clearly shows otherwise. Johnny eventually pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. He got the maximum sentence possible for a juvenile in New Mexico. That means he'll be in a juvenile facility until he turns 21.
Okay, and the third one, originally identified, William Will Garcia. He was 15. He actually turned himself in, met police at a public place. He came with his best friend, Elijah Eli King. Will's Instagram also had concerning content, lots of videos of him and Eli, gang references, teens with guns again. When police tried to question Will, he invoked his right to silence, asked for a lawyer right away. His case got moved up to adult court. He's facing charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
Which brings us to that friend who was with Will when he surrendered, Eli King, the 4th teen. Eli was also 15 at the time. Initially, he denied being involved at all. He claimed Will told him that other people in the car pointed a gun at Will, forced him to record, said they only meant to scare the biker. He claimed Johnny, quote, took it to another level and he killed the guy. Yeah. But his voice was later identified by a teacher from the video, saying, "Bump him." Huh. And information reportedly came from Will's own brother, suggesting Will's parents knew Eli was in the car but held back, telling police, maybe hoping for leniency for Will. So Eli King was indicted by a grand jury on June 11, 2025. Charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and leaving the scene of an accident causing death. He pleaded not guilty. He's currently being held without bond, waiting for trial.
So 4 teenagers implicated in this horrific act. What does it all mean in the bigger picture? The reactions we've seen from officials from Scott Habermehl's community, they really tell a story about the deep problems this case brings to the surface.
Yeah, they really do. Albuquerque's mayor, Tim Keller, called it extremely disturbing. He stressed this desperate need to do more to disrupt generational cycles of trauma and violence. And he pointed out pretty starkly, so many cracks these kids fell through at every step of the way.
That's a powerful point about the system failing them. And the governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, she reacted very strongly too. Said she was horrified by this brazen, heartless killing. She called it an appalling and heartbreaking reminder of the serious juvenile crime crisis we face in New Mexico, and she lamented the lack of tools to properly address it. She's really pushing for legislative changes, saying violence like this could be prevented if we had proper laws in place to detain repeat juvenile offenders and provide appropriate interventions.
And you hear the frustration from law enforcement, too. APD Chief Harold Medina specifically mentioned the limitations with the 11-year-old Messiah. He explained that basically legislation prevents us from being able to charge this individual for a crime and booked into a facility in the same way as an older juvenile or adult.
It's just, and then you hear from Scott Habermehl's loved ones, the raw emotion. His wife, Jamie, said initially she just assumed they'd never find who did it, and she wasn't even sure if she wanted them found. She feared it would attach a face to all of this, which she said she couldn't imagine anybody doing. Just heartbreaking. His coworker, George Tapley, voiced hope that the full weight of the legal system comes to bear on these individuals. And another colleague, Jane Cudney Black, also a cyclist, she expressed this feeling of being really infuriated and frustrated, but she also pointed out this incredibly difficult dilemma. She said, Putting kids in prison doesn't solve the problem, and not having any punishment doesn't solve the problem either. And then added, I just don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. That really captures the conflict many people feel. And Jennifer Bruntz, the president of the Duke City Wheelman Cycling Club, she noted something poignant too, that normally finding answers might bring closure. But in this case, she said, this revelation has made it all much, much worse. So if you step back and look at everything we've discussed, this deep dive, it's not just about one terrible crime. It really exposes this complex tangle of things. Individual choices, yes, but also potential systemic failures, and this huge ongoing debate in society about juvenile justice, especially when you're dealing with such extreme violence involving minors. It forces us to ask some really tough questions.
It really does, and maybe that's the place to leave it for you, the listener, to think about. When you consider how young some of these kids are, especially Messiah at 11, and you hear the frustrations from leaders about the current system, how do communities, how does the justice system find that balance between holding people accountable for horrific acts and the clear, desperate need for intervention, for rehabilitation, especially when the accused are still children themselves? How do we even define what justice looks like in a situation this heartbreaking, this complicated?